Well, hello, everybody. This is Tim Green with Rattle Magazine. Welcome to the Rattlecast. We're the biggest freewheeling live streaming poetry podcast on the planet, in your ears and on your laptops. Today's guest for episode 306 is Alora Young. She'll be here in a few minutes. But before we begin, I should say that Rattle is a publication of the Rattle Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit working to promote the practice of poetry. We've been in continuous publication since 1995 and are unaffiliated with any other organization. We just do all this. We love poetry, and know you do too, so please do click on the like button and share. Make sure you're subscribed. Ring the bell for notifications. Whatever you can do to help spread poetry around the internet would be much appreciated. And we're going to start like we always do with our Poets Respond poem. We have a returning poet, Sushanta Basumatary, from India. And unfortunately, being in India, Sushanta can't be here to share this poem live. It's like 5 a.m. there. But I'm going to read the poem for you. It's First Light. S2025U1, which is a difficult title to say. That is a new moon surrounding Uranus. And the note here, I'll read the note first. The note says this: I wrote this poem because the discovery of a tiny new moon around Uranus made me think about how much love and meaning can exist in things we almost don't see. And I really, again, like last week, we had a wonderful metaphor. And this is just a wonderful metaphor, too, for the love you don't see. It's beautiful. This is First Light, again, by Sushanta Basumatary, after the web discovery. First Light. The newest moon they found around Uranus is so small it fits inside a sentence. 10 kilometers across, they think, a shimmer between Ophelia and Bianca. It doesn't even pull at things. Still, it's there, threaded on the same old dark. I read this the same week Mickey died. She was only ours 11 months, not long enough to unlearn flinching. She'd still sleep under the table, even after we moved the table. They say the moon was always there, just invisible, too soft for Voyager, too faint for Hubble. How many things love us quietly? How many never get seen until a better eye looks? The article showed no images, only a plot of starlight interrupted like breath paused in grief. In a line drawn where the absence spoke. I don't think I believe in heaven, but still, I like that the cold knows how to hold a secret for a long time without breaking it. Again, just beautiful poem in memory of Mickey and also of this discovery by the James Webb Telescope, which is full of fascinating discoveries lately, too. That was a Sushanta Basumatary with First Light. Then we're going to take a quick break and go to our main guest, Alora Young. So sit tight, and we'll be right back with a whole lot more poetry. And we're back. Like I said, today's guest is Alora Young. Alora first appeared in Poets Respond as a teenager about 5 or 6 years ago. She's a recent college graduate, actor, poet, and author of Walking Gentry Home, a memoir of my foremothers in verse. She was named the 2020 to 2021 Youth Poet Laureate of the Southern United States and has performed her poetry on CNN, CBS, and the TEDx stage, and more. Young talks with passion and prowess about how the history and impact of spoken word poetry, generational trauma, navigating Black girlhood and womanhood in America, and neurodivergence and creativity. For more on Alora Young, find her website, alorayoung.com. That's ALORA Young.com. Here she is, Alora Young. Hey, Alora. How you doing? It's great to see you again.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. It's great to see you.
Yeah, it was so fun. I think you're still probably the youngest poet we had in the Poets Response series back then. And so it's really cool. I think that was before you were named the Southern Youth Poet Laureate, which is really cool
It
too.
was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's always really fun to see, where poets go, especially when they're younger, because so much can happen. So it's really cool to have you back and see that you've done so much, including this amazing memoir in verse too.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. And it's been an eventful 5 years. I think I was 16 when I submitted Ode to the Cameraman to Rattle. And my dad still says he thinks Ode to the Cameraman is one of my best poems. And I really love it. And I think it's so important. And I think it gets more important with every passing day.
Yeah, definitely. And and it has that spoken word angle too, which we don't get to see very much. It's sort of we published a tribute to slam poetry way back in 2007 maybe. And so we had a little bit of slam submissions, like people like Anis Mojgani would send us poems sometimes. And then it sort of trickled out, and slam has sort of faded away a little bit too. But the spoken word, of course, lives on. So it's really cool to have that kind of voice too. And I think the first poem you're going to share has that kind of energy as well. Do you want to start with "Show Me the Company You Keep"?
Yes. Show me the company you keep, and I'll tell you who you are. My favorite company has always been that of ghosts. Hear me out. I mean that I find the most comfort surrounded by stories, people from the past, words that have faded into hills or cityscapes. This is a story about girlhood and artists and a town that keeps on dying. I suppose I tell it because when you find so much comfort in dead things, you know the worst part is that they're only alive in your head. My family's history is possibly yours too, because even when eras change, girls will inevitably grow up and fall in love and bleed and fall out of love and fight over blood, and my God, will they fight over it. Adolescence, more specifically girlhood, is a bloodbath. My mom has a habit of telling me things I'm not sure I'm ready to believe yet. She has recently been telling me the world is ready for me to be a woman. Giving up being a girl is more terrifying than Hall's dying, so I'm trying to save this aging place because my favorite girls slash ghosts all lurk there. Perhaps this is just me running away from one more dying thing.
And that was Alora Young with "Show Me the Company You Keep, and I'll tell you who you are." So tell us some about that. The last 5 years. What was it like? How did you become Southern Youth Poet Laureate, and what was it like to have that post?
It was amazing. It was honestly one of the best experiences of my life. So what I did was I competed in the Nashville Youth Poet Laureate competition, which is a competition that takes into account your slam performance and your political activism and like your propensity for to make social change and to be a good ambassador for the arts. And that's all I've been for my whole life is an ambassador for the arts.
Hmm.
That's like my thing. Um, and so I was running a nonprofit at the time called Above Ground, which I won a Princeton Prize in race relations for. That was fun. Um, and I worked with a group of kids at Aiken Elementary in Nashville to teach them creative writing, neurodivergent education, and Black history. And from that, it evolved into me finding out about this Youth Poet Laureate competition, winning, and then competing in the next round and winning that. And so I spent the whole year just spreading the love of poetry and neurodivergence and Black girlhood to as many people as I possibly could because that's what I want to spend my life doing. And I was an arts envoy for the United States State Department. I was the National Arts and Humanities Month ambassador for poetry. I did a whole lot of stuff, like too many things to mention, but the last 5 years, I think the most important thing I did was I spent my college career and now my hopefully PhD career, which I'm planning to apply to schools this fall. Um, designing a curriculum for neurodivergent creatives.
Hmm.
So my major in college was called spoken word pedagogy, and it's the practical applications of spoken word poetry as a teaching tool for neurodivergent students. And then that evolved into a whole curriculum, which I've titled Diverge Lit 365. Like Divergent, but Diverge Lit because it's Divergent Lit. Yeah, it's fun. I thought it was cute. And I developed some tools that have been several professors at Vanderbilt University told me that my tools were groundbreaking and that I shouldn't tell people too much about them because they're going to steal my ideas. And that was from like the most renowned professor in education at Vanderbilt. Bettina Love has made comments like that about my writing, and Bettina Love is like one of the most famous abolitionist teaching like scholars in America. And so I've been working on this project, and I designed this thing which is called the Weather Inside, and I've been developing a concept called poetic interoception,
Hmm.
which is using poetry to identify your emotions when you have alexithymia, which is a thing where neurodivergent people have a difficult time identifying emotions and sensations in their body, because interoception is very hard for neurodivergent people. And so I developed a strategy where you can use poetry to identify your emotions. And I made an entire book that has different emotions you can feel that are metaphors, and then it shows you what the actual emotion you're feeling is and how to treat it and fix it and feel better.
Oh wow. Well, that's a really fascinating project to make poetry practical and have application.
Exactly.
You mentioned, this was your life's work even before, from early on. When and how did that become what you were so passionate about? Was there an instigating thing, the first poem you read that you loved, or the first poet you heard?
Well, Shel Silverstein was my favorite poet from a very young age. I was obsessed with Shel Silverstein as a child. And when I moved to Tennessee, I wrote my first ever song, which was called Stars of Sorrow, See You Tomorrow. I was a very melancholy 8-year-old. But through writing that poem, I discovered this is it. This is like the thing that makes my brain go ah. Like it's like the fireworks were going off when I started writing poetry, and I never stopped. And the thing that made me realize I could actually be a poet was when I was in 8th grade and I discovered the poet Morgan Parker.
Hmm.
And I read her book, There Are More Beautiful Things Than Beyonce. And before that, I had always said I was going to be a lawyer or something because in my head, I was like, is being a poet an actual career you can have? And then I discovered Morgan Parkin. I was like, yes, yes, it is. And that transformed my entire outlook on life and what I wanted from it. So I I never do anything like half attempt. I go full force ahead. So I started applying to competitions. I started submitting to literary magazines. I started doing all these things because I was like, if I'm gonna be a poet, I'm gonna do it right. Um, and I guess just the love of the game and a passion for making things happen led me to where I am today, and I could not be happier. This is all I've ever wanted and all I've ever dreamed. And I think more people should be poets.
Yeah, well, we definitely agree around here. I think the world would be such a better place if everybody was a poet.
Yeah.
Well, that was a perfect segue because you mentioned Morgan Parker, and your next poem up is After and For Morgan Parker. Do you want to read that?
Yes. Um, so some context on this poem. I wrote this when Morgan Parker came to my college, and she was teaching a workshop, and I literally cried because I was so excited, and we got to take a picture together, and then she said she loves me too, and I was so happy, and that changed my life forever. And so I wrote this poem for her, and I put it in a little card that I hand decorated. So this is America the Beautiful, the poem, after and for Morgan Parker. These bones are allegiant to the crook of a poem's neck and 20 milligrams of Adderall. A house that burned 3 times, then was painted a fluorescent turquoise by a daughter who loved her mother for what she owned and not what she carried. To rapscallions and the penny and the black-eyed peas. My country is a prayer call staring down the barrel of a bayonet. The bayonet will shortly be upgraded to an Uzi if Congress can pass the legislation. They've been attempting this for 300 years. Mitch McConnell still blames Obama. I am allegiant to the things that are more beautiful than Beyonce, to what was left after Matt left, like he always does, to what it means to love a person and not a concept. I heat my soul on a wood fire in my friend Curry's backyard. The way the smoke permeates your clothes and your hair, how we kissed once but things didn't get weird, how I was lonely, but I'm not anymore. Chapped lips and careful misadventures. I am allegiant to a man who came into my life even when I was not prepared. A white man, unfortunately. I know my children will barely get any melanin, but at least they will know their color is a product of love. My skin is the color of rape. I have white men in my lineage the way there is poison in water supplies, the way the taps in Flint sprout red, brown lead and gnaw at the neurons of innocent children who pray for absolution from a vindictive master at the State Department. I am honey cornbread and magnolia trees that still stand after lightning strikes them. I am a Tupperware factory that built a town, then left it to die. I am what is left of a town that is nothing more than a still vignette from a moving train that is headed for Georgia. I choose red beans. I choose the house that rests on the grave of a plantation. I choose the shallow breath of a memory of a grandmother who was more afraid of helicopters than dying. I choose my brother. I choose him every time. I choose the God that pulled on his uvula and expelled the taste of suicide. I choose a country that is all I have. I would leave, but it would unravel me. I choose the soil that grew my bloodlines in cotton fields. I choose the little graveyard by the little church that opened even when the flood waters rose. I choose the ancestors, those that have been hunted, those who know they are hunting me. Their voices are soft and comfortable, even when angry. They talk some sense into me. They tell me to keep going. Their words are a kiss on a forehead wrinkled from doubt.
Yeah, so great. Again, that performance poem energy. That was America the Beautiful, the poem by Alora Young. And you mentioned writing this poem after having Morgan Parker visit you in the class. And I wonder, I'm really curious about your writing style for these. What goes into writing a poem that's so reliant on performance and breath, in the way that energy holds itself and pushes forward into the unknown, I guess you could say. And so what is the writing process like for a poem with this kind of energy? Do you speak the poems out loud as you go? Or what is the process like getting on the page?
I've been writing performance poems for so long that I now can hear it in my head, like how people hear melodies in their head when they're writing a song. I hear the rhythms and the rhymes and like the da 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 the beat of the poem in my head as I'm writing each line. And like I'll say a line and then I'll be like, those syllables don't work. And then I'll think about it and I'll think about it. And the poem just sort of falls into place like blocks. And it just builds and builds. And like it's really a magical sort of experience because I always say, I'm not the one writing the poems. The poems are written through me as a conduit of some higher power of poetry and love. And I actually wrote a poem about that called Love and the Fabric of Space-Time, where I posit a combined field theory where Poetry is quantum mechanics, and love is gravity and the theory of special relativity. And together, they are the fundamental components of the universe, and they are the theory of everything.
Well, last week's guest, Gregor Orr, would love that with his, concerning the book that is the body of the beloved that is the world, which is his whole concept, which he was talking about last week, was how, what we're doing is creating the book of humanity, through poetry. And so that really resonates with that. So can you go into that a little more? I'm curious about your sort of the physics of that, the way that philosophy works. How do they connect? How does the poetry sort of create meaning?
Yes. So, my fundamental concept in Love and the Fabric of Space-Time is that because poetry can connect people in different times, in different places, even at some point in different planets and different galaxies, someone can read a poem and basically their emotions quantum tunnel to the moment that the poem was written. And the feelings they feel in their heart when they read the lines of a poem fundamentally connect them back to the person who wrote the poem, even if that poem was written thousands of years ago. So poetry is the fundamental tie that connects all of the facets of humanity to each other. Because poetry is the only thing that can time travel. And so the thing about quantum mechanics is that subatomic particles don't function like regular bigger particles. They jump and they transform and they exist in a state of reality that is not quite like our own. They don't bend to the same laws of physics in the same way. And so poetry, I believe, fundamentally does not follow the same laws of time and place that all the rest of humanity and physics has to follow. You can have a poem and be transported to millennia in the future. You can be changed, you can be altered, you can be fundamentally evolved by a poem. And I think that the most fascinating thing about poetry as a form of quantum mechanics is that poetry is a non-Newtonian fluid of conceptual ideation. It does not conform to one shape or one place or one time. It exists in different forms and different facets and different complexities, and it's accessible to everyone. Hmm. And then the concept of love as gravity is that in the poem, I posit that when God needed a force to bend all forces, she developed love because the force of love is the strongest thing we as humans can feel. And that's not just romantic love, that's platonic love, familial love. The thing that drives us to do what we do in every single day is love for ourselves, for humanity, for our communities, for our planet. And so the thing that moves all humans, the thing that moves all things is love. And that's the concept of the poem.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize this interview was going to go in that direction, but I do find this topic fascinating. The idea of time travel through poetry is really interesting to me. And we talked to Dean Radin, the parapsychologist, about last year. And one of the things that came up there is that just the thing, I never thought of this before, but you know how you feel like a poem is written through you? You mentioned that, like it's somebody else is writing through you. What if the poem, that feeling of written through you, is an amalgam of all the people in the future who needed to read that poem eventually, reaching back in time to making you read it? Have you ever thought of that?
Yes, I have actually, because you saw Sinners. I know you saw Sinners.
I did not, no.
You didn't see Sinners?
I did not see Sinners.
Okay. Sinners literally has a scene. It's the most magnificent scene in cinema I have ever seen, except for the scene in Contact, where she's traveling through the warp through the wormhole to the Vega system. That scene was magnificent. But the scene in Sinners, it's up there. So it's literally talking about how when somebody sings a song, that song connects them to people in the past and the future. So everywhere in the span of reality where people are listening to someone who has a gift for music, and I think the same thing applies to poetry, they are fundamentally connected because I think of time not as a continuous thing. I think time exists more like gems on a ring. So they're all separate and they're all at different points on the ring, but they exist continuously in one space in one time. So the future and the past exist, they coexist with the present and the past or the future or whatever. Because even though we exist in one time and to us time moves forward, all the time already exists. So I think that energy, specifically love and poetry, can communicate through time and space, through the fabric of space time. Because the thing about space time is it's a fundamental contiguous unit. So time and space are not separate entities. So space time is one thing because the thing that makes time happen is the impact of gravitation on the curvature of space. So if you're near a wormhole, time will move faster. If you're and like due to different gravitational pulls and forces, time moves differently. That's not a perfect explanation of
Mhm.
that. I'm not a scientist, I'm a poet, but that's the general
Well, a poet who
concept.
loves science, we can tell that.
Yeah.
And so you meant, the music you talked about being connective. Carla Schwartz asked, let me find her actual phrasing, but she wanted to know why wouldn't that same concept apply to mathematics or other topics and things that connect humanity? Is there something special about song, like the resonance of that, and then poetry is a part of song, and so that's why poetry is something special?
I fundamentally think mathematics is an art form. So I think the notion that mathematics is a hard science is actually not as true as people think it is. Because mathematics, pure mathematics, is probably the hardest science one could think of. But when you really get into it, the people who are making incredible discoveries in complex mathematics are actually doing it in a very artistic manner. The way their brains move, the way they mechanize, the way they compute and think about these things um, is an art form because there is this historical thing where two mathematicians, well, a mathematician and some sort of sociologist, I believe, had a competition where they had a board, a whiteboard, and they said, you have to write a bigger number than I write, and you can't just double what I did. So you have to come up with a completely different mechanism to get a bigger number than I have. So the first person writes the number one. The second person writes the number one and an exclamation part, making it a factorial. Then the next person turns the factorial into something I don't really remember, but it's a really like interesting story where they transform each number into a bigger and bigger number through creative thought.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. Like mathematics is just creative thought about the fundamental calculations of the universe. And I think that is a poetry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I definitely well said. I couldn't have put it better, but yeah, it is. And all of science, all of exploring through creativity, which is what we're doing when we're reaching out to explore anything, from when we're a baby wondering what something feels like, and reaching out for the
Exactly.
first time. That's a kind of creativity. And there's something that draws us. And I don't know, there's something special about the universe that we're the eyes, the ears, the hands of it. And
Exactly.
there's something special there. But we got to do more poems. Let's read Metamorphosis next.
Yes. This is a poem about autism. I have autism, which you probably could have you could have figured that out. But this is a poem I wrote about um the experience of being autistic and what it does to your perception of your community and your girlhood. So this is called Metamorphosis. All I wanted was a metamorphosis, to evolve this body into beauty, to shed my skin and become the enigmatic desired, to soften into water, conform my shape to my container, take on a new form. Girls like me are not fluid. We are wooden. We do not melt. We sublime. We burn into smoke and gas and leave solid state behind. Everyone wants to be water, the life-giving elements. But some of us are mercury or tungsten. Some of us are invisible, cruel pollutants in the eye of the beholder, noxious gases and cold metals, virulent elements that take no prisoners. Maybe I have a hydrogen complex, always wondering why the world prefers ones and sixes and eights, why we were assigned different fates, when the weight of your neutrons is too much, when your rage could split an atom, you emit such radiation that you could fuel the bomb.
Yeah, there's Metamorphosis by Alora Young, another powerful, energetic poem. And you see the science there too. So the love of science just comes through in a lot of things. Again, I want to get back to the writing process and the way you move through poems. There's so many interesting details that come up. And, in the poem, it feels like you're surprising yourself as you're going. And there's something that's pushing you forward into that surprise. So can you explain more about, after you mentioned like coming in blocks and blocks as you move down through a poem until it's completed. Is there revision in that? Or is it like, because it feels so raw and energetic that it feels like it's like how it was created, like the forge of that is still there. Do you do a lot of revising of poems or they come out as they come out?
I think revision is necessary to getting poems into the best possible form they can take. But something I've been researching is that when someone does a creative endeavor, like playing the piano, um, a person who is new to the piano, they've done brain scans. And when you do a brain scan on someone who's new to playing the piano, it's very intentional. So their activity in their brain is all intentional circuitry that they're remembering this is how you do this, and this is how you do this, this is how you do this. But after a certain point where you're skilled enough at the piano or at poetry or at whatever, it actually becomes unconscious. It transitions from being an active process to being a unconscious thing that your brain does. So that's why when you see a jazz musician who's incredibly talented, who has played their entire life, they just improvise, they hit that riff, they like da 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 da, and they just do it the way that it comes off their head because they have mastered the skills necessary to make jazz music to such an extent that it becomes an automatic response. And I think that is a factor in a lot of people who are outstanding poets, why they are the way they are. Because once you master the skills and the flow of poetry to such an extent that you know how to do it like you know how to do it without even thinking about it, there is a switch that flips where you go from being an intentional creative to an automatic creative. And I am researching what flips that switch. How do you go from being an intentional creative to an automatic creative? And I have been an automatic creative for much of my life at this point. And so I think when the poem just comes, it flows through you. There is a sort of necessity in doing revision to make sure that because it'll come out beautifully. It'll come
Hmm.
out the way it needs to come out. But to make it the way it needs to be, to make it ideal instead of just raw and beautiful, you have to revise. There's no way around it. Revising is a fundamental factor of poetry because even the best ideas don't always come out perfect the first time. And you have to get it into the shape it needs to be to change lives.
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely true and really interesting. And the thing, we talk about so often is that the right brain and the left brain, the difference between those two hemispheres, and the way the flow state is where those two hemispheres are in communication, which they usually aren't because they're so different, you know? And so it feels to me like you're talking about finding that flow state and then having to, because we're translating the wisdom from the right hemisphere into language that everybody else can understand. And so having to revise after the fact of that symbolic knowledge and wisdom that comes out of us is what revision is really all about. So really well put.
Yeah.
You mentioned the neurodiversity, so what is what is it like to be neurodivergent in your case? Neurodivergence implies there's a normal, and so what is different about the way that you approach the world, and how do you go about communicating that?
So I think that I believe in a social model of disability.
Hmm.
And the social model of disability is that people are not disabled by their impairments. People are disabled by a society that does not accommodate them. So I communicate differently. This is a theory I've been developing in my research, and it's the notion that between an autistic person and a neurotypical Black woman, there are four layers of subtext. Between an autistic person who has zero layers of subtext, a white man, there's one layer of subtext. Usually it's a corporate layer of subtext. Between an autistic person and a white woman, there is two layers of subtext. A white Southern woman, three layers of subtext. A Black Southern woman, four layers of subtext. And I think there are a lot of sub layers in between each of these things. But when you communicate as an autistic person, that means fundamentally you are translating through four layers of subtext to communicate to a person who has more layers of subtext instilled in them than you. Because as women, you are instilled with a layer of subtext where you don't ask for what you want. Or if you're in the South, you live in a guess culture versus an ask culture. And a guess culture is where you say, I wonder if there's any tea, instead of, will you make me some tea? And that's a Southern thing, also a Midwestern thing. So when you're a Southern woman, you have the layer of subtext of being a woman, and you have the layer of subtext of being Southern. And that's additive. So they add on top of each other. And then when you're Black, because I'm a Black woman and I know many Black women, there's an entire another layer of subtext that develops from like the cultural identity of the Black community. There's a whole nother layer of communication you have to learn to do to communicate with Black women, especially if they're in a church or they're in some sort of like Southern or rural community organization. It's a whole different ballgame of communication. So, as a neurodivergent person, when I talk to anyone who is neurotypical, I am actively translating what I say through whatever amount of subtext they are communicating through. Because if I say something and I have no subtext and they read subtext into what I have said, they're going to be upset for something I didn't even mean. And that's basically the struggle of being autistic in a society that is built for neurotypical people.
Hmm.
You have to assume everyone's going to read into things you did not have any subtext in at all.
Hmm. Well, that's interesting to hear put that way. Do you want to read "My Mind is a Strange, Bright Country"?
Yes. My mind is a strange, bright country, or brilliant, beaming spectrum. From my youngest age, I was a peculiar, amorphous thing. I had words before I had feet that stood on their own. My sentience was an unexpected incident. My mother tells me it was the strangest set of incidents. A child in a backwards-facing car seat that understood that you were being sarcastic to her and was extremely offended by it. What an odd child. Brilliant, but certainly odd. When I was 3 years old, my mom told me, Lolo, your sisters don't want to play with you because you're mean to them. And as the story goes, I went to school and considered this. And when I came home that day, I told my mother, I like being mean to my sisters. It's fine if they don't want to play with me. And that was that. It was simple, really. I was born in a mind with abounding synapses, a ball of wires that were alight and sparkling with electricity, and I did not get less unusual. At 7, I became a poet. It was clear in my writings that my brain was fit for melancholy. Stars of Sorrow, See You Tomorrow was my first poem. I was plagued by nightmares. I was plagued by thoughts. In the years between 7 and 16, I came to realize I was not exactly of a world like this. My eyes saw interactions through cataracts. I was lost in the swamp of hormones and vitriol. Teenage girls swarmed like locusts. Those years were eaten. Entire fields of memories devoured like grain in the hungry mouths of the hive. I suppressed these things to balm the judgment that aches my muscles, the world I lived in but never quite understood. I was at once prodigious and floundering. I was a land creature in the water, swimming with the hope that one day I would grow fins and belong. It was embarrassing. My brain is a strange, bright country. I am beholden to ghosts who inhabit me, voices that argue and insult, and a psyche that feels too much in every moment, where I fear no treatise or opus, but wither under bright lights and loud sounds. The citizens of this consciousness are at war, and I am simply the battlefield. When I was 18, a therapist suggested I might have ADHD. And you should also probably get tested for autism. I'm not sure, but I have a feeling. And then suddenly I had words for this. This haunting, this inimitability. And I wept for the beautiful child that truly, deeply believed they had been cursed. There were many like me, thousands, millions of brains that felt some semblance of my pain, that saw the realness of its magnificence, the magnitude of its brilliance, with eyes that see the way it shines, those that shine in kind, a brilliant beaming spectrum of all glowing gold electrum, all the people who question, who will save or protect them, who are deep in love with strange things, who know the face that hides the truth, who rock and flap across the map the very living proof that my world is not misshapen, that my brain, however odd, is dense and genius laden, that my sight was never flawed, that this strange, bright country has citizens who pride themselves on being people who are not sick, who do not hide, that I have defied great odds, carved something new of fate, that in the darkest of night, this spectrum of light will shine so bright it drowns out hate.
Man, that was Alora Young reading My Mind is a Strange, Bright Country or Brilliant Beaming Spectrum. There's a question here from Christiana Doucette, who says, this intrigues me. Poetry is so full of subtext and layers. And you're talking about the subtext before. Do you see yourself as creating subtext in your poems, or do you see it as something else? It feels like metaphors work so well in your writing. So how do you answer that?
I think in order to survive in this society, I had to learn how to create subtext. And I think poetry was the way I practiced that. So my mom One thing my mom always says about me is that I can communicate things that nobody else who is like me has the tools to communicate. So there are not a lot of autistic poets. There are way, way, way more than you think. Way more, but still not like a lot. Um, and so to have the ability to transform conceptual ideas into comprehensible, understandable language is a less common trait. And so my mom always says that I need to use my gift to give language to things other people cannot understand about us, and to give language to things we cannot understand about other people. So basically, my calling as a poet is to be a conduit of communication between two very distinct kinds of people, neurotypical people and neurodivergent people. And I like to think that through developing my skills with poetry and my skills with writing and my skills with communication, I have developed a skill set through which I can explain to neurotypical people why we do things the way we do, and I can explain to autistic people why neurotypical people do things the way they do. And so poetry and metaphor is the conduit through which I translate two completely different kinds of brains, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that does. Um, let's see. Well, I should say at this point, if you're enjoying this conversation, please make sure you click the like button wherever you're watching it. There's some way to leave a review or click like or share it. Tell your friends to listen to the Rattlecast. Anything you do to help spread poetry around would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you have any questions for Alora, leave them in the chat windows, like Christiana just did. It helps if you put a question in bold or all caps so I can see it. I'll try to pass anything along in the remaining bit we have. Alora, we haven't talked about your memoir in verse yet, Walking Gentry Home. And there's so much. It was a fascinating look back at that book because there's so much research that went into that through your own family history. The family tree at the beginning, and then walking through your foremothers. It's just a really interesting thing to do. How did you come up with that project, and how did you decide to put it together as this memoir in verse? It's a really interesting project.
So the reason I came up with this idea is my grandma died. And when she died, I realized with her died so much information about the people who came before us. And I realized I never wanted another person in my family to die and for us to lose all the information that was stored in their brain. And so I said, all right, we're writing it down. And so I spent months doing genealogy research, reading documents from like the 1850s. Like literally, I read the will and testament of an enslaver and found one of my ancestors who was left by name in this will to his daughter. And I researched all these different things. I took a DNA test. Um, and that proved that I was genetically related to both that white man and that enslaved woman. And that can only mean one thing. So the DNA proved it. And through that DNA proving that, I was able to very definitely track the bloodline down from there. I started at the bottom. I knew who my grandma was, my great grandma, my great great grandma. And so I got up as far as I could. And then when I couldn't get up any farther, I started with the ancestor who I could identify, who was the first one to come to Tennessee. She was actually born in Virginia and brought to Tennessee by her enslaver. And so I tracked down from the enslaver and my foremother, and then I connected them.
Mm-hmm.
And did so much research, like a ridiculous amount of research. I actually interviewed every single living female member of my family on my mom's side. I spent like months on the phone with my elderly relatives, writing down their life stories and writing down all the things they knew about their grandma and their great grandma, about the grandmas who were before them, because like my grandma's sister, Aunt Jeanette, her her great grandma, she knew her great grandma, because she's older than my grandma was. And so I was able to get stories about my great great grandma through that.
Hmm.
And so by like digging into all of these people's brains and collecting all this information and collecting all this data, I was able to compile enough information to tell a very complex and fleshed out story. And I think it has to be poetry because Black girlhood is fundamentally inextricable from rhythm.
Hmm.
I think it is it's church bands, it's Miss Mary Mack, it's all of these things, it's cheerleading, it's all these things, it's beauty queens, all these different elements that make up my lineage and my family tree. They're all inextricable from rhythm because I think it goes back to slavery, to before slavery, to Africa, because the thing that they bring with them when they can't have their instruments, when they can't have their drums, when they can't have anything, they have their hands, their feet, and their voices. And so when you had nothing else to connect you back to your family across the ocean, you had rhythm, you had music, you had the stories from the griots, and you had memory. And I think there is nothing more vital to telling a story about a Black community than recognizing the rhythms that it was built upon. Call and response, like songs that they would sing in prison, songs that they would sing in the fields. See Miss Eliza, go to Mississippi. Then there's like Go Down Moses, Let My People Go. And then all of the call and response songs that evolved into Black American church music.
Hmm.
It's inextricable. It's fundamental to the story. And I don't think I could have done it any other way. And I also think I am a poet. I am a griot at my heart of hearts. So to tell a story about me and where I come from in a form other than poetry, I wouldn't be able to do it justice.
Hmm. And so, do you ever any difficulty at all finding the voice, to speak through for all your ancestors through? I mean, is that part of what poetry allowed, is to have that voice and those rhythms be captured? And did you struggle with that, with making it sound right to be speaking, using those distant voices?
The thing about me is that I have been familiar with my ancestors' voices in my head for
Mm-hmm.
a long time. You know how people say, listen to the ancestors, they'll tell you when to stop seasoning? I hear my ancestors in everything I do. I'm also schizoaffective, so that might be something to do with it. But um, my ancestors have always guided me through everything and every journey and everything. And I think that to be a poet, to be a griot, is to hear your ancestors and to know that a lot of times when you speak, they are speaking through you. So it was not hard to know the voices because I've known them my whole life. I
Mm-hmm.
recognize them. They're distinct from my voice, but they're voices that I'm familiar with that I love. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense because you feel the difference between this and your other work. Do you have anything left in the packet from Walking Gentry Home, or I have the book open too if you want to? But can you read something from the book right now?
Yes, I have Black Mothers,
Okay,
which is 8 on the document.
gotcha.
Black women have Black babies who become Black women who have Black babies, and they are all dying. I spend most of my time trying to reconcile the fact that I am no longer a Black baby. I am well on my way to being a Black mother. My great grandma was one twice over by the time she was my age. I am afraid to watch my children suffer. How am I supposed to tell my sons that they are wanted men when they are infants? These false pharaohs want me to drown them. I think that they will be very likely dead by the time they get to high school. Black women have black babies who become black boys who become corpses before they are men or fathers. My black daughters will be women far too soon. When they are still gentle, men will say to them that they are unyielding. I pray they don't understand the words. They never know the feeling, that they are invisible to leather hands like they are to the rest of the world. White men have black children, and those children only know they are bastards. I won't say it out loud, but I hope that if I bear a white man's child, they will have their father's eyes and privileges. I wonder what it means to gentrify my own womb. People tell me I am already gentrified. Black fathers have black sons and go to prison. When fathers stay, we wonder if they are broken. We are all broken. On my family tree, I found two slaves. One could be seen because she was freed early. One was left by name in a will. Both of these women had daughters marked in the census as mulattoes. Both of these women were labeled as widows. When black mothers are raped by slave owners, they have children who can expose secrets big enough that they are gifted freedom. Black women have black babies who become black women and black men, and it does not take much black to be in danger.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That was Alora Young with Black Mothers, Tennessee. Alora, we had some questions coming in, sort of following up on some stuff we've talked about before. One of the things, let's see, this is a newer question, but Jamie Thomas wants to know, have you ever had a deeply held belief that was overturned or transformed by your research and or by an epiphany you had while writing? Which is an interesting question if there is an example.
Yes, actually. Um, Several. First of all, I thought math was terrible for a very long time. I had I really struggled in math as a child because I'm dyscalculic, which is like dyslexia but for math. And so for most of my life, I was like, math, boo, hate it, bleh. Um, but when I got to college and I took a math class called Intro to Mathematical Thinking, it showed me that math is as much an art form as anything else. And that I didn't dislike math because there was something wrong with math or something wrong with me. I disliked math because nobody had taken the time to show me the art that math is built upon. And when I realized that, it completely changed my worldview. Because I had always been a science person, but I always hated math. I hated math. I hated math. And when I discovered that math could be beautiful, um, it completely changed how I look at all things numerical.
Well, that's really interesting, Laura. Let's hear. I want to make sure we get to maybe two more poems before we go. Do you want to read your second to last something?
Yes. Um, which one should I do?
I don't know. You pick. It's totally up to you.
Okay. I'm gonna do shooter drill.
Okay.
That year, we had more shooter drills than tornado drills. And the tornado actually hit us. As if a natural disaster couldn't kill us faster, and after would what was done even matter? The ideas and the brains that splatter on concrete walls and cinder block halls that led a man's mind to shatter. This endemic of shooters and shooter drills is a plastered cast on a mental wound. It is the flowers sent to the houses of mothers whose babies were stolen far too soon. And the difference between global moments of silence and just gang violence is what classroom the shooter goes to. It's the shade of the set of young bodies he blows through. It's the value of the heavenly bodies he breaks. When we worship white skin as a false idol, his hunting game raises in stakes. That year, We had more lockdown drills than fire. I presumed bullets would light up my funeral pyre, and I think of the countless names, all the afterlife classrooms filled with children slain, of the snot and blood that came down like hot, hot summer rain, and every time I went to lunch, I prayed for my immortal soul. My schoolmates made jokes about quiet kids in trench coats. I noticed we coped like veterans. Maybe it made it easier to handle the thought that our lives may be jettisoned. It took a global pandemic for us to stop dying in classrooms, but it seems the police are still trying to make it. So we count every heartbeat knowing someone could take it at any minute. I mean, what good is that shooter drill if I was lying in bed when they came to kill that year? We had a rally against gun violence. I spent the whole time terrified that someone would mow us down while we stood outside. My friend Philip said, "We're sitting ducks." I said, "No, we're lambs to slaughter." I don't want to be a martyr. No one wants to be a martyr. You can't forgive someone who isn't sorry. I wonder if those lawmakers ever will be. I wonder how we could put power in the hands of these people who don't care if a classmate decided to kill me. When no child left behind means no child left alive. The years of our lives were supposed to be thriving, were years we are told we must just survive.
And that was in Laura Young, once again, reading Shooter Drill, a really powerful poem. And the really with the rhythms and the rhyme moving through that poem, great performance piece, and your delivery of it's wonderful. Do you feel like there's a difference between poetry meant to be read and poetry meant to be performed? Is performance poetry different from page poetry? How are those things different? Would you say?
Yes, I do think there is a difference. Because I actually teach spoken word poetry, there is an entire theatrical element to the craft of spoken word poetry that you do not do in page poetry. I have a poem, excuse me, called AP Human Geography, and the entire format of the poem is based on a citation from a textbook. It only works on the page. Mm-hmm. Because you have to see the footnotes, like the APA citations where there's the little numbers. And if you can't see that and you can't look at the number and then go to the bottom of the page and see what I'm making the notations about, it doesn't work. That is a page poem. Fundamentally, it is a page poem because the elements of the poem all go to giving it a certain aesthetic on the page. The fundamental aspects of the poem are composed with the intent of making the reading experience pleasurable or exciting or unique in some way. A performance poem fundamentally is designed with the listening experience in mind. Because with a performance poem, you only get one time to deliver it. So if you're using obscure words or you don't have good rhythm or you don't have good meter, then you're not going to get your point across. Because if you are saying too many things, if you're not being very fluent, if you're like not communicating the language properly, then you are going to miss people. It's going to go right over their head. Because on a page poem, you can read that poem as many times as you want. No one's going to take the paper from you. You can read it as many times as you want. But a spoken word poem, you get one chance. And in that aspect, it's a lot like live theater, where when you compose a musical score, you have to compose it with the intention of getting it through people's heads. This is what's happening. Don't forget about this. It's important. And when you write a poem that is spoken word, you have to have delivery. You have to have your poise and your movements. You have to have all of the things. You have to have your facial expressions. And if any of those elements are not composed properly, the poem will not be delivered to the correct manner of performance. Mm-hmm. So when you teach someone how to write spoken word poetry, it's half the battle is writing the page, half the battle is writing, this is the language, these are the rhymes, this is the this and that. But half the battle is teaching them how to deliver it in the way that a performance poet delivers.
Yeah, well,
So
that
yeah.
makes sense. Is there any for people who are lean more toward the page poetry, but still performing your poems is an important part of being a poet? Is there any advice you have for delivering page poems better? You know,
It's
other
the
than
same tools.
yeah,
Yeah. So if you want to deliver a page poem in a manner like a performance poem, it's all about how you, as the writer, depict what you have written. So if you have like a line where it's like a refrain of some kind, maybe have a certain way you deliver that refrain so that it comes across as a intentional, audible metric through which to remember the parts of the poem. If you have certain language that is really clever on the page but doesn't exactly come across in performance, then you can work and you can tinker with that language to make sure it sounds out loud the way it reads on the page. So there are a lot of things you can do to transform a page poem into a performance poem, and half the battle is really working on your delivery skills. Because if you can perform like a performance poet, a lot of times that's all you really need to transform a page poem into something that can be performed live. And there's this big problem in a lot of writer communities where there's like open mic voice or like
hmm
slam poet voice. Just use your regular voice. You don't have to deliver it. You don't have to sound like a spoken word poet. You just have to be a performer.
hmm
Those are distinct. You can sound like a spoken word poet and not be a performer. You can sound like an open mic poet and not be a performer. You can be a performer and not sound like either of those things. So don't try to sound like a spoken word poet. Try to be a performer.
Yeah. And what is your experience with venues for spoken word poetry? Is there a wonderful place to go? Like where do you consume that? Both it's like a open mic if you want to go and perform, but also just to view and enjoy. It's something that there's the Poetry Lounge in Los Angeles. I know that I used to like to go to, but it seems like it's not that many places that are like that. Do you have that experience? Are there a lot of places that you found for performing?
Your local arts community center, your local library, your local public school, all of these places will have open mics. Like we have the Porch here in Nashville. We have Southern Word here in Nashville. I teach workshops at the Brentwood Library. I teach at JT Moore Middle School, where I'm about to start teaching at JT Moore Middle School. I'm really excited about it.
hmm
Um, and all of this is just there are so many opportunities to perform and to be around other writers and other artists if you know where to look.
hmm
Just look for the people who are doing the art. There's always, like, if you have a literary magazine that runs out of the college near your town, or that runs out of, like, an art center near your town, all of these different places will have open mics.
hmm
So it's really just a matter of knowing where to look.
Yeah. Well, very cool. I hope people will. So we're about out of time, Laura. Do you want to read one last poem?
Yes. Hmm. Okay. I'm gonna read Absidarian at a sci-fi convention.
Okay.
Across a grand and distant galaxy, boys lose hands like they're a driver's license, cut clean and halved after coming home blackout drunk, despite the fact that they made it back safely. Ewoks tame man tied on a spit for a feast, furry beast of kind face craving human flesh, guest of honor twiddle tied golden thumbs, harboring more fear than the girls who want to ice their skin in iodine to flush away the lingering digits, jester behind a mask of war paint for a high school football game. Kill yourself like the bathroom wall told you to. Love the boys who don't love you. Make a move like you're using the force. Noxious breath hotter than Tatooine. Ostracize her to the depths of the Rancor pit. Press her ass against the wall, frozen like carbonite baths. Quit telling people you're a fan. They don't believe you. Run before they start getting angry. Should you have worn Princess Leia's bikini? Tight like the rope she was bound with. Under that old Playboy's palace. Vicodin daydreams and Death Stars. Wonder if they mean what the threats say. Xenogenic from the original trilogy. Young girls should not venture into binary star systems. Zap some sense into yourself. Try force. Try force lightning.
Yeah, that's great. That was Abecedarian at a sci-fi convention by Alora Young. One last thing before we go, Alora. What are you working on as far as publishing goes? Walking Gentry Home has been out for a few years. Do you have any projects like that in the works? Are these poems that were newer from some kind of project like that?
Yes.
What's up next? Yeah.
Okay, first, I started a Substack. And I've been publishing essays and poems on there. And second of all, I have written 18 books since the last time we talked.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. I was busy. So I wrote a book called To God from Andromeda, which follows the first astronaut to reach the Andromeda galaxy in the last 24 hours before their oxygen tank runs out of air. And they reminisce about their life on Earth in the last moments, all alone, farther than any human has ever gone before. Then I wrote a book about my first year at college called Willits Third. And that was a book about my experience being a freshman at Swarthmore College. And I interviewed every single person living on my floor on Willits Third freshman year of college. I interviewed every single person, and I wrote poems about all the people who lived in my hall. I wrote poems about the broken exit sign and the mild mouse infestation and the bathrooms that constantly had puke in the trash cans because they were freshmen in college, and I lived on the same floor as the entire lacrosse team. So that was fun, and I wrote a book about it. And then I wrote a book called Unpretty, which was an exploration of global beauty standards. I did so much research for it. I wrote essays about fairy tales and different cultural touchstones in our media. I wrote an essay about incels and the play Miss Julie by August Strindberg. And I wrote a bunch of poems about global beauty standards and different experiences with beauty and womanhood and self-identification and thinking I might be gay. I'm just bi. I figured it out. And that was fun. And I wrote that. And then I'm currently working on a book called June and Maya's Almanac, which follows two lesbians as they accidentally get roped into running a farm together in West Tennessee, because June, the main character, inherits this farm. And on this farm, they discover ancient hoodoo that her family has practiced for generations, and they use the hoodoo to save their farm from a developer. And it's all in poetry because of course it is. And then I wrote a book called Loud as the Rolling Sea, where I personified various deities from the Yoruba religion, and I examined how those deities came across the Atlantic Ocean during the transatlantic slave trade and incorporated into African American mythology. And then I wrote a book called Cry If I Want To, where I examined all the parties I have ever been to in my entire life, because I really like parties, and I just wanted to see what was going on there. So it's called Cry If I Want To, like it's my party and I'll cry if I want to. And
are these all available yet, or are you still?
I'm working on it.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. I mean, so much to do. It's amazing how much, volume of things you put out. That's really incredible. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being a guest, Alora. Really fascinating talking to you, hearing your poems, and hearing about all this other stuff too. It was really interesting. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you. It was an honor.
Yeah. Well, that was Alora Young, everybody. You can find all of Laura's work. Find that Substack, I'm sure, and Walking Gentry Home, of course, at alorayoung.com. That's ALORA, Young, like the word young.com. So that's Alora Young. Really fascinating episode. And now we're going to take a quick break and go to our prompt lines. And the prompt for this week was to write a poem in which someone is taken to a surprising school. Well, I guess maybe we just all were. But that is the prompt this week. Write a poem in which someone is taken to a surprising school. Now, reminder, it's a 1-page max and 3 minutes max on camera. So if it's a long poem, just get through it really quick. Dive right in. Email your poem first to promptlines@rattle.com if you got a poem to share fitting that prompt. Then you can show it on the screen as you read. Everybody can read along with it. And then find the Zoom link, which must deploy on Facebook and YouTube. Just join the Zoom if you'd like to share a poem. If you want to sit back and enjoy everybody else's poetry, though, all you have to do is keep watching right where you are. That's the best place to be. But we'll be back either way with more poetry. And we're back. Thanks for your patience. We've got our prompt poems editor, associate editor, my wife, Katie Dozier, here with us. Hey, Katie.
Hello. I love Alora's energy. That was amazing.
That really was. I mean, sometimes a struggle to get poets out of their shell, but not with Alora Young. That was really fun.
Out of her shell from the very start.
She was.
Yep.
And so you were mentioning about the move to Monday night. So this is the last Sunday episode. Mm-hmm. We were sort of backfilling a little bit, seeing who could slide back because we sort of shift around. I mean, the truth is we have kids here in school, and just the weekends are so valuable for our family now.
And we're missing Sunday dinner.
Yeah, we like the idea of a Sunday dinner.
The kids are making taco salad with leftovers in the kitchen by themselves.
So Monday's a better night for us at this juncture in our lives, whereas Sunday was better, when we were flying back and forth all the time. But should be great. Next week's guest going to be Richard Sykin, starting out Labor Day. And also Labor Day is like, you don't want to do Sunday of Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
Those like 3-day weekend ones,
right.
It makes it much better on a Monday too. So there's that.
Good time to shift. Nice he was flexible.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of great guests coming up too. So looking forward to that. And that means Monday night next week. We'll mention that again at the end of the show. But anyway, what do you have for us? So the prompt this week, Katie Dozier, was what? It was write a poem in which someone is taken to a surprising school.
Okay, so for me, I'm really excited that we're going to have Billy Collins on the Poetry Space this week. And so I've been reading a ton of Billy Collins, so I expected myself to write, some sort of really cool poem with a lot of asides and like indirect address. And instead I wound up with a very esoteric haibun that you even said after you read it, you were like, Katie, what's going on with your poem? And you suggested I add the date to make it clear because it's really confusing as I never write persona poems, right? Basically, I never write them.
It's true. I was thinking that this is a really vivid childhood memory that I don't
not
remember hearing about.
No, and the situation with this too is that I wanted to think of a really weird school. So I went to a school of thought and then found myself in the unlikely scenario of being the only one awake this morning for a little bit and went down a Wikipedia rabbit hole.
Oh, I love those.
I know. It was so fun. Okay.
All right. So let's see what you got.
All right. Really pushing the boundaries of a one-page poem, by the way. The font
a lot of
is
white
small.
space, though, you know?
Yeah, I know, but it's still one page. It was important to me.
Okay.
I can't break my own rules all the time. Okay. Brook Farm, 1841. Dreaming of a simpler time in a simpler time. I was promised that when our work was through, our toiling on the topsoil, the oceans would be made of lemonade. But how we would get out and over to the sea was not addressed, or why the bubbles couldn't be champagne instead. Utopia. Flower crowns on top of all the flowers. I rescued the lion from a circus, outfitted him with a plow, asked him to play nice, but he bit me anyhow. Distant roar, the welling up of my old life. Every dinner was a multi-course feast. Little pastries stuffed with goat cheese from our herd, gym lettuce from the gardening guild, a bed for glazed lamb, fruit compotes with cream, how the gold glitter sprinkled on all of it gleamed. The passion of a butterfly, open marriage. We were all dancing in the hive until something sparked alive, looking for a sign, anything, a sign.
Yeah. Well, I love those haiku, especially. And that I'm reminded the passion of a butterfly, open marriage. I was like, wait, there's something.
Wait a second. What's going on here? Because Tim read it and didn't know it was a persona poem. I was like, no, but I came to the conclusion that, okay, so all these kind of little groups, I think they were called phalanxes or something. I'm forgetting all my Wikipedia terms, but they popped up in America at this time. Mm-hmm. And there was some cool, like feminism. Apparently the term feminism was born out of them. So some cool things. But then also, I think that the guy just did it because he wanted an excuse to sleep around. So that's where that was my conclusion for why these existed.
A lot of interesting things going on back then.
Yeah, apparently. But I mean, he was trying to reward passions, but it maybe a little too much for in that particular case.
Well, very interesting, and it's really neat to see you go in that different direction away from the.
No, but I was annoyed because I was like, "Don't write an esoteric poem," and then it wasn't even the most esoteric thing I wrote today because I made you read that too.
Well, there you go.
So.
But going in the history and not doing anything autobiographical, that's cool.
Very unusual. Yeah.
All right. Well, mine did go in an autobiographical direction. For some reason, I was thinking about because I was surprised getting to school in a surprise. So I was thinking. The memory popped up where there was this ice storm that we woke up to as a surprise. So we didn't go to school, and then fit the prompt because it's like a different kind of school, So anyway, that's what came up to my head. Here we go. This is the storm. This is the Great Ice Storm of Rochester, 1994 or something. Like half the trees in the city
it spread
died.
to Lexington. I lived in Kentucky at that time, and I remember we talked about it was like really an event in Lexington, Kentucky too.
Yeah. Well, this is my childhood memory a little bit in a little tight poem. Here we go with the storm. We woke to a cathedral of ice and awe, so inconceivable no one spoke at first of what we saw. Every jaw a drop jaw, every limb as limp as the boughs brought down by the weight of the water, changing state as drip by drip the drops accumulate with sound until the crash of its jewelry on the ground. And when it melts, what is left of what was held is left to bear as well as felt. So there you go. There's that. The storm.
So does this count as alliterative verse? Because we haven't done our episode of it for the poetry space yet, so I still can't define it. But it feels very, very
there was
linked to it.
Like there's some moments.
Yeah.
But alliterative verse is very much like
defined things.
Yeah, you have
I haven't
like
looked at the definition yet.
three instances of alliteration per line.
Well,
basically,
I don't think you held to that standard.
I did not. No, especially
really
with the
nice
tiny
sounds,
lines.
and I love the way the whole thing looks like an icicle too.
Well, there you go. Thank you. Yeah. All right, so that was my poem. Let's see what everybody else has for us this week. And let's start out with Christiana Doucette.
Oh, I was just writing a comment, so I will wait and post that afterwards.
Well, great to see you, Christiana. How you doing today?
Good to see you too. I'm really excited about this one. I was trying to think through like what would be an unexpected school, And so I pulled up the School of Athens, the painting, the really famous painting there, and I was kind of like looking through there, is like, is there anything here? And I found that that particular painting has a what's called a cartoon, which is like the cardboard. They'd have cardboard pieces, and so he'd like outline everything, and then they'd poke holes in the cardboard and put it up on the wall and blow charcoal through it to like outline the figures before they actually
Wow,
painted them.
that's really neat.
Yeah,
And
that is.
the cartoon of it is still complete, which is really unusual for the time period. I actually have a picture of it down on the second page. There's 2 pages in the document. That's only because the second one is the 2 pictures there. And there's a really interesting figure on there in white right above Pythagoras. And some people believe it's Hypatia. I think it's Hypatia. The Vatican says it is very definitely not Hypatia. But Hypatia was a famous philosopher and mathematician. She studied ellipses, and she studied parabolas and cones. And the long story short, there was a Christian group there in Alexandria where she lived who got very upset that she had as much influence as she did, and they murdered her. And so the story is that the Pope did not want Hypatia on that picture. Well, I feel like there's a whole lot of punning going on in the picture because Raphael painted it so that he has Da Vinci's face on Socrates, and he has other people's faces. He has Pythagoras in the same position as they use the symbols for like Matthew getting the Gospels from the angel. And so like there's all these little hints where people could play multiple roles. And so in the cartoon there, you can see there's a woman in that place with she's one of only 2 people looking out at the audience. And she has a veil on and everything. But then in the main, like what he actually painted, there is no veil. But it's a very similar figure. And he used the Pope's nephew, it's believed, like for the face. So, but I think that he put Hypatia there, looking out at the Pope every time the Pope was signing something. So anyway, my little history lesson there. So the title of this is Hypatia. I'm not super pleased with the title yet, so if someone has a really good suggestion in the comments, I'm going to go look afterwards. And I have 2 little bits there. I have after Raphael's School of Athens in the stanza della signatura of the former papal apartments, where he would sign papers. And then this epigraph. Part of this whole censorship is to erase our history, but also erase our lives. Patricia Cronin and Smithsonian artists and scholars respond to the White House list of objectionable art. Even Athena, goddess of wisdom, stands behind a shield. Medusa's severed head, stone still and silent scream that is some caution of what may come. I endeavored to teach the use of focus. I measured ellipses, my eyes and the artists looking out across the Pope to devilries devout. What am I doing here among the men? It was the Christian mob who ostracized me for my influence and insight when friendship with the governor minimized their hold on locals. And by ostracized, I mean ostraca, roof tiles, flayed my skin. They called me witch and tore me limb from limb. The distance can be calculated, but the Parabolani heirs still compare reason's sorcery to theirs, call for cuts to what they judge threatens Christians there. They do not want a woman on these stairs. The artist is a trickster of the face, palimpsest plausibilities in place. Pythagoras expounds parabolas as Matthew's gospel truth beneath my feet, opening my subject on the tabula. My face, a nephew's nose, figure discreet. I am a parable in art's deceit. He placed me on Da Vinci's side in white and took away my veil, but gave me sight.
Well, really interesting.
Yeah, really cool to visit the
backstory.
Raphael rooms. Thanks.
Yeah.
I've been like so obsessed with this. I told my kids the story of it the other day, and I think I took almost all through dinner, but they were really interested and wanted to hear. So I was like, I've got to cut this down. The history has to be 3 minutes or less.
Well, thanks so much, Christiane.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. That was Christiane Doucette with Hypatia. There you go. And let's see. Next up, let's go to Brian O'Sullivan.
Hey,
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Great to
just
see
like
you.
Christiana, I was writing a comment. Um, hey, it's good to be here. So I have a short poem this time. I have it was going to be a rondel, but it turned into just a 9-line poem because I got to the ninth line and thought I was finished. But it is Tim's favorite thing, a poem based on Greek mythology, but not too like esoterically. It's about Glaucus, who was turned into a sea god, a fisherman who was turned into a sea god when he ate a strange herb. But anyway, I went a different way with school, and I needed a sea god to get there. It's called Fearing Change. I Dreamed of a Fisherman's Ascension. After Ovid's Metamorphoses, Book 13, Chapter 8. Salty and sweet, the strange herb consumes him. Glaucus grows fins and a tail where he had limbs, and he hears the sinking call of the deep sea surge. As with a school of dolphins, he begins to swim. Singing together of the fate's weird whims, they harmonize a sublime and ancient hymn. Glaucus feels earth and sea within him merge. He's been touched by the art of the demiurge, and with his school, we'll forever swim.
Yeah, well, I really love the repetition of that form, too. That's really cool, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. That was Brian O'Sullivan with Fearing Change. I Dreamed of a Fisherman's Ascension. Interesting mythology. If I could keep it straight, I'd find it interesting. I just can't remember anything.
Well, I bought a kid's book for Lizzie. Maybe we can read it.
Oh, maybe that'll finally that'll
Yeah,
sing
it has
some. Yeah.
pictures.
Aw. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Let's go next to Ian McGrath Santowski. I got to be honest, I'm excited to know about the date.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Ian, how you doing?
This most recent Wednesday was the last time the music was going, the last time the concerts was going on in the park. So it really was my last opportunity to interact with her and give her my number. And we danced the whole time. And at the end, when the band concluded, we had a bit of a conversation, and I did give her my number.
Nice.
I have not received a text yet, and I'm worried I typed my number in wrong. So
Aw.
we'll
if
see
it was
how
fated,
it
it will
unfolds.
Yeah.
happen some magical
believe
way.
it. If it's meant to be,
we've learned
it'll
from the
be.
rom-coms.
Yeah, and from our own life.
That's true. Too.
Yeah.
Wait, this isn't a rom-com we're in now?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
It's funny and sweet.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, I'm glad. I hope it'll come. I'm sure.
Yeah, and for anyone who missed it, we're talking about the poem written for a mysterious dance party that Ian shared with us. Was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did think about that like multiple times. I brought it up to Tim, like, I hope it's going well. Sorry.
That's true.
Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because last Wednesday, the Wednesday after I read that poem, I was so amped to read the poem. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
everyone's gonna be like wondering what's gonna happen. But she didn't show up that Wednesday, so it was kind of this Wednesday. I was like, oh gosh, if she doesn't show up, what's gonna happen? I was like, I
Aw.
want to be able to talk with her after this.
Aw.
But yeah, the situation all unfolded.
Mm-hmm. Well, very cool. Well,
Well,
thanks
we're
for sharing
hoping
that.
for
We
you.
are. We definitely are. There's a whole bunch of
She
people
better
rooting
call.
for her.
That's crazy if she
Yeah.
doesn't. Come on, writing poems to her before you know her name or barely know her name. Like, that's really sweet.
That really is.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Didn't really.
Yeah, so for this prompt, it took me a while to finally get the form right. I was doing like 3 nights of journaling just to sort of figure out what I wanted to do with the poem and with the prompt. What I eventually attempted to do was I almost tried to flip school on its head, trying to sort of reverse the rules and see how the narrator sort of fit within that rules.
Mhm.
And the one thing that I'm still I did a walk before I listened to the latter half of this podcast, and I got 2 lines that were like very necessary. That was like I was waiting for those lines to make the poem work out. Um, it got to a point where I found the lines, the poems at a decent point where I'm happy to share it, but I'm still uncertain about the title and the last line, which are like the two fairly important aspects of the poem in my mind. So I'm open to any suggestions if anyone has any comments.
Yeah, leave in the old chat window. Yeah, let's hear it though, Ian.
It's called The Lesson I Learned. If a teacher caught me, I could handle their spiel. But the principal caught me in the empty classroom. Please don't tell my dad. Please. I knew I misbehaved. Knew I should just follow the rules. Skip class, smoke cigarettes, make out by the bleachers. He caught me eating lunch alone. I begged and begged him not to call my dad in. After school, I was to wait in the office while my dad waded through traffic. The atmosphere was viscous. The chairs as comfortable as minimum wage. When my dad finally arrived, I lowered my eyes. He sat down. Your son isn't enjoying his youth. This is his only warning. We drove home in silence. We ate dinner in silence. We each went to our rooms without uttering a word. The next day, as usual, I woke early to make my own lunch. My dad was already at work. He left the note on the table. Don't get caught again.
I really enjoyed that line in particular. The line, the chair is as comfortable as minimum wage. I think that was really good.
Yeah, interesting.
That was the one that I added when I went for the walk.
Oh, really? Oh, how fun. How neat. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I like the setup. That was really great. Thanks for sharing that,
Thanks.
Ian. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. There was Ian McGrath Santowski, and it logged me out, so I have to see the title. I had to log back in. And the title was The Lesson I Learned. Okay. And now let's...
The lesson you learned was to not let Gmail kick you out.
Well, the problem is that apparently...
I'm joking. I know it's not your fault at all.
It kicks you out after exactly 7 days without log.
So it keeps
every
rehappening.
episode. It actually does that. Usually,
hey,
I
but
hide
moving to Monday, it'll fix that.
one time. Yes. All right. Let's go next to Nivedita Karthik.
Hello.
Hey, Nivi.
Hi.
Yeah, great to see you.
Okay. How are you guys doing?
I'm great. Yeah.
The show today was great. I managed to catch the last about 20 minutes of it, and I was so excited to actually be able to catch the interview live.
Yeah, I'm so glad you could. Although that means you must have got up really early, which is maybe not the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's great to see you. What do you have to share with us today?
I have a school. It's sort of, it's how I hope schools will be. I've drawn influences from a bit of Poe and just in general books and reading.
Neat.
The school like no other. The bus coughs dust as it halts before a castle, not made of brick and mortar, but stacked books, reaching. The school has no playground, just a whispering forest of forgotten stories. The headmaster, a raven perched on his shoulders, offers a syllabus in riddles. Here, classrooms smell of old paper, ink, and a hint of magic. This isn't math and history. This is a school breathing life into silent words, making dragons from dust. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. A really interesting poem.
I would have loved to have been taught by Poe, that's for sure. I was just less directly, I suppose, than I would have hoped.
I think we had professors who channeled Poe and them, but in the wrong sense.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for sharing that, Nivi. That was great.
Thank you.
School Like No Other by Nivedita. Thanks, Nivi.
Thanks, Nivi.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah, have a great day.
Thank you.
Hang on 1 second. I've got a tickle in my throat.
Would be me juggling for you. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Yeah, I woke up in the middle of the night with like a
I
weird...
know, yeah.
Yeah.
You did with the big cough.
I know, and I haven't had it all day. It's just okay. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
Whew. Okay, next up, let's go to Kimberly Gibson Tran.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Hey, Kimberly, great to see you.
Yeah.
Great to see you. So, my poem is really ridiculous. A little ashamed about it, but
nice. We like
it's
that.
just
Yeah.
I'm excited. I just saw the title. I'm sorry. I'm very excited about your poem, I have to say. So
I think the problem is it really relies on someone having seen the film Zoolander.
and loving it.
I've never seen Zoolander.
Well, this is a real problem we have here. Do you
Okay.
hear this?
Uh-oh.
Like this is gonna have to be a very, very planned soon. I love this movie. Unabashedly, I'm not ashamed. So
I'm not ashamed of liking the movie. It's just the poem is silly. But here, this is just there's an important scene where there's a strange school or a model of a strange school. That's why I wrote this. Okay, here I go.
I say this part. I reference this a lot, and so I just find it, and I didn't think about that at all during this prompt. So I'm sorry. I'm too excited.
Okay, well,
All right.
let's hear it.
Here I go. Zoolander. Isn't everything an education? The gasoline fountain of how a mind came to be, its desiccation hilariously apparent. It takes intellectual work to wear garbage and call it fashion. I applaud the layered shtick of derelict Derek. Too handsome, too simple to get it. Derek's school was of hard knocks, chipping coal with a pickaxe while he dreamed between rocks of hot mermen. So when Derek model walks to the little mock-up of the Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good, I feel the rage of someone who's been made to see his dreams are small, realize they must be at least 3 times as large.
Well, I found that entertaining, but I definitely did not get the references at all.
Just wait till we watch the movie. You can appreciate it.
Is
it
it kid friendly? Can we watch it with the kids or no?
I'm
Is it way too
no.
much?
Remember.
No.
I
Okay.
don't know. It depends. My standards for that are not as high as they should be. Maybe to be a lenient.
There's
entertainment.
bulimia, there's orgies.
Yeah, that's where I went on. Oh, I forgot about that
Yeah,
aspect.
maybe
Yeah.
not. I think.
I just remember the simple humor because that's what I love about the movie. But yeah.
All right. Well, that was definitely fun, and I'll rewatch this episode after we've watched the movie.
What is this? A school for ants?
Oh, you do say
I
that.
do say
I had
that.
no idea what you're talking about when you say that. Okay.
And
now
then I
do.
just continue saying it.
Well, thanks for humoring me. Sorry for those who haven't seen Zoolander.
No, you should be saying you're welcome to those people.
All right, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry, and I'll do it again.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kimberly.
All right,
That was
good
like an
night.
orange mocha frappuccino. Sorry.
No, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Well, that was Kimberly Gibson Tran with Zoolander. And we're not getting paid for the advertisement from
Just wait.
Paramount.
You know
or
the
whoever.
calls are gonna come.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's go next to Amanda Harris.
All right. So I thought a lot about my high school with this prompt, but just general anxiety reasons and maybe legal, I've changed the name of the school.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. Hailsham. The clack of beer cans crawls up unfamiliar spines and then convinces us, like a jackal, that hedonism is law. Such hedonism rebels against common logic. Drink, but not before 9. Have bad sex with a classmate, but only let the boy brag about it. Inside the building, a teacher debates, with his gin hand, the merits of hands-off teaching. Pigeons stalk the playground.
What an ending image there with the pigeon stalking the playground. Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say
Ominous.
Great,
Yeah.
great last line, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Amanda.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks. There's Amanda Harris with Hailsham. Next, let's go to Jeff Stumpo.
Reigning prompt poet of the month.
Thanks for, yes,
Hey,
definitely.
everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Jeff.
I inadvertently went over last week, so I'm just going to start reading.
Okay.
This is all true, by the way. Habanero Icarus. I pride myself on being that guy who orders Indian food and writes, "not white people spicy" in the comments after checking the box for hot, or daydreams about going sauce for sauce with the host on Hot Ones after I win some major poetry award. But you know what they say about what goes before a fall, how it's some kid improvising air dynamics because he doesn't have time to learn flight the right way. And last night, I won a poetry slam at which we had to use work never before heard on a mic with two poems I'd written in the hour between arriving and the start of the open mic. One of them being, I shit you not, a sestina using 6 words the bartender gave me upon arrival, and one of them being a contrapuntal about the host. And then the third one, totally off the dome in the final round, a love poem to my wife incorporating 3 words shouted out by the audience. And what I'm saying is that 11 p.m. sun was real close in the sky when I walked out with the grand prize, 15 pounds of fresh vegetables from a farm somewhere between Keene and Manchester, including, to my great joy, a couple of habaneros which we do not grow in our own garden, and I used my recollected YouTube education to whip up at lunch a salsa of those and some banana peppers and fresh tomatoes and onion and some dashes of salt and pepper and bit into that bright medley, whereupon I promptly melted my fucking wings. Lesson or warning? Condiment or chemical weapon?
Right. Well, very interesting. Yeah, very entertaining. Thanks so much.
It's funny because I almost incorporated hot into the prompts, and I feel, and like for a second I forgot that I hadn't in reading your poem.
Yeah. Well, very cool poem, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Very cool. That's
Yeah,
a funny
exactly.
pun.
All right. There's Habanero Icarus by Jeff Stumpo. Let's go next to Rick Pongratz.
Hello, how are y'all?
Hey, Rick. Yeah, good to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's good to be back this week. Katie, I want to thank you for this prompt because it was very annoying.
Wonderful.
In the sense that it was, I kept like maybe a half dozen different starts, and then I thought, wow, this prompt is so good. It's better than I thought when I first heard it. So I'm super excited.
Thanks.
So, all right. I guess I'll get started. Perseid, I just have a haiku. Perseid's shower, a parade of tales in puppy kindergarten. Perseid's shower, a parade of tales in puppy kindergarten.
Oh, that might be the cutest haiku.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm gonna have to share that with my daughter's obsessed with dogs. I'm gonna have to share that too with her.
Yeah,
I think she'll
definitely.
appreciate it once we get into the mythology.
Also, the Perseids. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, we'll have to get her into that with
Yeah,
it.
great.
Oh, that's sweet. I love the idea of thinking about the tales as different. That's never like, that's not a cut word I've seen before too. It's interesting.
Yeah,
I was
thanks
trying
for
to
sharing
think
that,
of
Rick.
surprising school, how surprised my puppy was going to school, and so that's where that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I once took a dog to puppy kindergarten too, and it was really fun. And actually, too, he's the youngest in his class. He was a yellow lab I had named Wilbur, and he looked like a butterball. And it was really sweet taking him in because I got special permission, even though he was not quite 8 weeks old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was
Very
still
nice.
top of the class.
That's impressive.
Bragging, 15 years on.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Rick. Thank you
Rick.
so much.
Yeah, that was Rick Pongratz with the haiku, Perseid shower. Yeah, very cool. All right. Let's go next to Habit Malik.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Habit, great to see you.
You too, always. Thank you. And mine is a micro poem too. It's a very short one.
Hmm.
An Ars Poetica.
Ah.
Ars Poetica. Like an empty school, it stands, open, waiting. Your words echo in the hallways, follow you outside, but you are gone.
Hmm. Oh, that's really creative. Poetry itself is the school. I'm writing a poem. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Habit.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's Habit Malik with Ars Poetica. Let's go next to Carla Schwartz.
Hi.
Hey.
What a fantastic night, and thank you for having it and everything. And glad to be here at what Alora was referring to as go to your literary magazine and have an open mic. And so,
Yay, you did
anyway, so here I am. And so my school, I actually had a number of poems about this, but so this title, you'll get the school in a minute. At 30, I failed naked lessons. One hot, full moon summer night, we hooligans rode our bikes down Charlotte streets, stopping midway at the cemetery and finally finishing the ride at Lake Champlain to all skinny dip, except for me, Professor Me. Once I recognized him, another rider, my former student. It turned out, newly graduated. Even with my love by my side, I couldn't let myself strip down. I felt naked already for a dive.
Interesting memory. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Carla.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was Carla Schwartz with At 30 I Failed Naked Lessons. Let's go next to Dick Westheimer.
Hey, all.
Hey.
Hey, Dick. Great to see you.
Katie, a friendly amendment. We see you juggling all the time. It's called being a parent on a podcast.
Aw, thank you. That's sweet. Thanks.
Definitely true, yeah.
The second thing, as you might have imagined, I was just like so jazzed by Alora's, especially that riff on quantum poetry. That was...
Yeah, that was really interesting.
I know it's something you've spoken
Mhm.
about in similar terms before, but I think she really hit it. And the consensus on the chat was she needs to be protected from cynics and nihilists.
Yeah, definitely. That might be a tough one. There are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
They are, but I think she probably doesn't need my help being protected from that. She has plenty of amazing armor.
Yeah.
So again, this was a little torture this week, Katie. Sorry. I didn't feel kindly towards you for most of the week.
That's what I like to hear. And yet you're here. And that's the important thing.
Well, you have to rise to the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the inevitable end of talking out of turn. The only students in class this morning were me, 3 deer, 6 mosquitoes reciting odes to blood, and the invasives growing rank beside this country road. I sang the Beatles' Revolution Number 9 to the others, and none of them sang along. None of them applaud, and I think they don't like new kids much. I love being in this school where there's no raising hands, where everything can talk at once and the teacher stays home most days. The wind arrives late and doesn't know we all hear it telling secrets to the trees. The bully boy weeds and mean girl climbing vines take advantage of the lack of rules. The poison ivy lurks silently. It's the hardest worker in class, keeping me and my kind away from the other growing things. No one appreciates its preparing its berries to feed the birds this winter, quietly guarding the borderlands between woods and field, laying low as the township crew mows the side of the road. I count its leaves, 1, 2, 3. It's the only one besides the wind who's been here before, or since before there were numbers. The only one who doesn't need to come to school to learn the axioms underlying the mathematics of this place. The most important lessons can't be taught. All of us are strangers here. Silence will survive us all.
Yeah, great last line. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dick.
Thanks for the hard work, hard homework.
Yay. Thank you for your hard work and sharing it for the class today.
Yes. Do I get a little gold star?
If I only had them to hand out, I should have come prepared.
Yeah,
Nobody gave me an apple.
Aw.
Oh, well.
We got some in the
These
kitchen.
are all I mean, the poems tonight, the open mic poems.
Very well said. They are apples. Yes, that's true. Thanks, Dick.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks, Dick.
Bye.
Yeah. That was Dick Westheimer with The Invisible End of Talking Out of Turn. Let's go next to Sean Evaningo Sanders.
Hello, friends.
Hi,
Hey,
Sean.
Yeah, great to see you.
Oops, I can't hear.
Yay, you're back in your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hi.
Okay. Usually echo is kind of funny, but anyway, so yeah, this was a hard prompt, and these past 2 days have been really tough because I got news that a really dear friend had a blood clot in her brainstem. And I'm still kind of awaiting to hear what the results of this really severe stroke are going to be for her. And so I want to thank you for this prompt because it kind of gave me something to focus on and to process what's happening.
Well, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having this. Motor Function 101, enrollment pending. She cried out for help just before vertigo took its hold, her words spilling like spoiled milk. Blood clot on her brainstem, her arms surrendered when she tried to touch the sky. She's not ready to write her last line. How desperately I want to hear her new poem. The one where she rhymes thrombosis with promising prognosis. Trying to read between the lines, a busy signal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, really powerful poem.
Yeah, I was powerful is definitely what I was thinking too. And to write that in the middle of all this, right immediately can be so challenging without distance. So that's really impressive.
Yeah, it definitely is. Thanks so much, Sean. And best wishes, and really hope your friend recovers.
Yeah, just waiting to hear something.
Yeah.
It's been hard.
Sorry. Yeah.
So,
Well,
anyway,
we'll be thinking of you.
Thanks
and
for
your friend.
tonight. And I got to thank Kimberly for the Zoolander poem because I really needed that laugh.
Yeah, it was great, right? Yeah.
Blue Steel forever.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I want us to all watch it together now somehow. I don't know how we're going to arrange that, but I really want that. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, Miss Sean Evaningo Sanders with Motor Function 101, enrollment pending. Really touching. Let's go next to Matt Joseph.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you as well. Thanks for doing this. So I'll just jump right in.
Great.
Curriculum vitae. After 50-odd years, I have earned countless degrees, from College of the Lost in the town of Owell, a child of 2 marriages brought to their knees, an absentee dad and stepmother from hell. My first degree came from the School of Soft Knocks. My mind was always a little bit cluttered, just smart enough to lay down the words, just dumb enough to make them sound muttered. Organized thoughts are made for the birds. So said my degree from the School of Lost Socks. I was pretty damn cocky because that's how it plays when you're just trying to cover your doubts and your ass. But it gets hard to tell the nights from the days when you minor in making a house out of glass, but major in how to throw rocks. Lucky for me, I found the right soul for my rickety wagon to hitch to and fly. And sure, it still squeaks, but now it can roll across the dark then and forever sky, where Prof. Pleiades bestowed a nail file to pick all my rusted out locks, and a shiny degree in repairing each one of my busted and broken down clocks.
Yeah, really. Thanks for sharing that, Matt. An interesting form. Is there anything more to that, or is that something
Dude,
that's on a knots form?
No, I did the first stanza in that particular meter and made those things rhyme, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to do that for 3 more stanzas. So I have
cool.
no.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
So anyway,
it makes the clock end hit harder, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun. Thanks for doing this, you guys.
Very
Love
cool.
this.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. There's Matt Joseph with a curriculum vitae. Let's go next to Laura Berg.
Hello.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Laura. Great
It's
to see
been
you.
such an interesting night. Alora is full of light. Full of light.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of went Brian's direction with fish. Here we go. Schooling. One September, I shipped myself to the upper Orinoco's slow waters, to school with cardinal tetras under duckweed, learned to hunt sand fleas. Would I make those fish uneasy? Would they see me as a whole school unto myself, all my body's cells astir in meshed undulation? Or a giant solitary thing chosen to float at their school's rim looking in? I wouldn't try to catch them, but the way they swayed and shoaled over grasses in a turquoise vein as their under arrows' cool flames gleamed made me want to cease being just myself and instead turn into the river.
Well, that was beautiful as always, Laura.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the use of the title, too. Mm-hmm. Really great, well-titled poem.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it was Laura Berg with Schooling. Yeah. Let's go next to Zachary Honeycutt.
Hey, Tim and Katie.
Hey.
Hey, Zach. Great to see you.
Hey, I appreciated Alora's interview too, from the perspective of someone that also struggles with two mental disabilities, writing poetry from the time I was about 6 and writing from really early age. It was like healing for me. It was cathartic to do that. So that helped me survive it. So I can understand where she's coming from a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I have a sonnet today, and I tried to fit this in with the school prompt, Katie, but this is one of those poems that's kind of about school, but it's also it's not, it's about the end of summer, but it's also about so much more than that.
Okay. All right.
I'll just get right into it. The melancholy of summer. When summer's spool unravels thread by thread, as fast as high school trends now out of style, just before the green leaves turn brown and red, and I still remember I was once a child when a summer hurried by long ago, and yet it was just like yesterday smiled when I turned back to school where time felt slow, as I see those kids through the eyes of a child. They rush to the bus stops early and bright, but stuck on islands they saw weeks before, talking up storms that linger past my light, as my day grows much shorter than before, and darker than rust on an autumn day, or the shadow of fall after time's delay.
Yeah, cool closing couplet, and then an interesting form too with the repetition within the sonnet.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Great night of poetry.
Yeah.
See you guys next week.
Thanks, Zach. Yep. Yeah, always fun to hear Zach sonnet. There's a Zachary Honeycutt with The Melancholy of Summer. Now let's go next to Tina Deniclaw.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hey, Tina, good to see you.
Good to see you guys. So I also wrote about puppy school. Mine's a little longer. I love that puppy school, the way he did that. It's just like so fun, right? Puppies in school, and they all trying so hard.
I've never seen Puppy School.
Oh,
we're getting tempted over here.
Mine isn't a good example. All right. So, who's in charge here? And that's after, the show Monk, where he's, the theme song, who's in charge here. Yeah, just say that in the same way, who's in charge here. So, we think he used to walk a fence. The SPCA did not know for sure. This lost dog's history, even for a German Shepherd, Jed was surprisingly composed. He knew commands, and we could see he was watching us, waiting to see what commands we knew. We took him to puppy school and accidentally stole the show. Treats meant for training, my husband fed them to Jed behind my back. The people next to us were aghast. The trainer used a spray bottle to silence barking pups. Fun game for Jed. Soft woof each spray after watching the droplets fall. Can you make your dog stop barking? Jed, be quiet. The trainer looked at me as if I were not cooperating. You told us not to give our dogs commands until you teach us. Jed got bored and laid on the floor in the middle of the circle, on his side, his legs stretched out. The trainer carried on and stepped around Jed as he explained to all of us how to train our dogs. Lessons done, Jed came with us to visit a moment with the trainer and made his own comment. He picked up his leg and peed on the trainer's leg pants. Oh my gosh, that's okay. The trainer smiled. He already knew Jed had taken the trainer to school.
Oh, that's a funny story, Tina. And I've never seen Puppy School, but it reminds me of my adopted German Shepherd Henry, who already knew all the commands too. And it's a really good description of him. It's so smart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're so smart. Yeah. Jed was the best. Well, I'm not that your dog wasn't wonderful, but there's never been a Jed.
Jed could have been the better one too. Yes.
Jed was. Oh my gosh, my heart is always with him, and it's not for all of our other dogs because they're not Jed. I need to get over that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, Tina. Yeah.
You're welcome.
It was Tina Denniclaw with Who's in Charge here. All right, and that's gonna wrap up the Zoom. Let's see what Ted Bernal-Guevara had for us tonight, and this is Ted's Zipper School. Interesting. Okay, let's read. Okay, Zipper School. All can benefit if they have gone to the Zipper School, have claimed to walk a mile in the snow to get there. The frail-minded teen didn't have to serrate her wrist if they did. Brilliance would have been a credit to someone's self-esteem, and marriages may have gone longer. Erasers are motionless in the Zipper School. Blackboards free of chalk dirt. The scent of education would have stayed in the nasal cavity of someone. His paper children would have stayed unblown on desktops. No ill wind from the windows. The longing bell would have rung and set them free to the rest of their day. Silence teaches at the Zipper School. Coerce is in detention. Harm is expelled. Really interesting, the Zipper School by Ted Bernal-Guevara. Thanks for sharing that, Ted. And that is going to wrap up our show for tonight. Let's go to the haiku. And I had a long drive. I drove from California.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. He drove all the way from California to Texas.
Yeah, 25 and a half hours, door to door.
I would have gone for the record, but I could not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
It sounds like I just left you to do this awful thing by yourself.
No, you just have it's not like that.
Yeah.
You definitely.
You were very up for the challenge, I will say. I was impressed.
Yeah, so we moved the remaining stuff from California here.
Yes.
And anyway, so there was a lot of road time. So I wrote some road haiku.
Oh, you did?
Just some on the road in my head a little bit.
Aww.
And here's one of those. Where we go here. Right here. Heavy lids. The stillness of a distant weather balloon. There you go. Heavy lids, the stillness of a distant weather balloon. This was moments before I decided to take a little nap.
And pull off when you pulled off the road to sleep, we may add, sir.
Definitely, yes. Yes. Pulling off the road.
Mm-hmm.
Nice big shoulder there. Took a little nap.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, that weather balloon, man. It's hypnotic.
That's cool. You saw that.
Anyway, that was the haiku for the That is the show for this week. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Now, the prompt for next week is going to be what, Katie Dozier?
It's a short one. Oh, I also want to say really quick that we are winding up. So the end of the month submissions are coming up. So on the 31st to get in your prompt poem submissions for this month, which is August. I had to double check with myself for a second. And then, so this will be the last prompt.
Well, actually,
You're
we're
gonna
moving to
change
Monday.
it. We're moving to Monday.
Which makes September 1st. This will be next month's prompt. Is that okay?
That's okay. I'm sorry. We should have conferred, obviously,
we should
before
have.
the show. I'm sorry. I assumed it would just fit into that, but it's fine. It works either way. We've got some good poems in there already. I feel confident.
Okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
in that case, we
Okay.
will do it like the calendar says, and this will be the first prompt for September, I guess.
Okay. Wow.
All right.
Wow, September. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's there. It's right there.
It is right there.
Okay. Write a poem that touches on hair. That's it. That's the prompt.
Nice. It's almost a haiku. The prompt
I
itself.
know it's really short, so I'm kind of curious. I feel like I'm letting go of some control in this one. We'll see where everyone goes, but
Yeah, well, Henry, it's going to be a fun one to do. All right, so write a poem that touches on hair for next week. Remember, that is next Monday because we're moving. It's more Labor Day weekend.
Mhm.
September 1st happens to be the Monday.
Mhm.
We're moving to Mondays from now on. Hope it doesn't mess up too many schedules.
Yeah,
but
we're
it is.
sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry if it is for anybody who it's not
But
a good
we really
change.
hope you can make the shift with us.
But I do know because last time we did a shift, I did this whole polling procedure.
Yes, I remember it.
And I remember it was like exactly like 50-50 on every date and time. There was like no.
Like when you try to ask friends five friends when they can all meet for dinner, and it just that never works. That's
So it's the it's the best of times, it's the worst of times, no matter which time it is. But anyway, hopefully it's not too bad for everybody. And Monday night will be our night. And our guest next week on the first Monday is going to be, as we mentioned before, Richard Sykin. So Richard won the Yale Younger Poets Prize, elected by Louise Gluck way back in the early aughts. And then it took 15 years, I think, to publish the second book, and now he's got a third from Copper Canyon. I Do Know Some Things, a bunch of prose poems. Got one of those in the current issue of Rattle that just came out. For all you subscribers, if you haven't gotten it, check your mailbox because it's really right there, probably.
It'd be so funny though if he had a sequel that was I Do Not Know Some Things. Sorry, like that would
And
be
these
really
things
funny.
I do not know. Yeah, we'll ask him about that next week.
Yeah, I know.
but-
Just given that idea, it's just brilliant. Sure to take it.
So Richard Sykin is the guest. Once again, your prompt is write a poem that touches on hair. That's next week, Rattlecast 307, the new regular time, Monday, September 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Hope to see you there. Hope you have a great week. In the meantime, we'll be back to for the Critique of the Week 2 on Friday. But I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.
Good night.